I don't know what to do. I'm scared as hell. I don't know. My insides are like this.
I
I
hear
do
you.
not know what to do.
I hear you're saying that, but that's not the reaction that I'm seeing. Your body language isn't showing that.
This is Gene Stuller, a 72-year-old retired maintenance guy pretending to be scared after brutally stabbing an innocent woman to death 34 years ago.
And if you're telling us what you're telling us, we have a problem. We have a big problem.
I guess we have a problem because I don't know her. I don't know nothing about her. I don't know nothing about this.
But little does he know, detectives have his DNA left at the crime scene all those years ago. Now, Gene will try everything to convince investigators that he's innocent, but the evidence against him is as damning as it gets.
Okay, you can Gene me all you want. I know nothing about it. My scars have nothing to do with it. This is documented, this is documented, this is documented, this is documented.
So how can we explain how your blood ended up on her?
I don't know.
A little after 9:41 a.m. on September 23, 1991, law enforcement in St. Cloud, Florida, responded to reports of a body discovered along Neptune Road. The call came from passing motorists who noticed a body lying just off the roadway. When officers arrived, they found the body of a woman lying in a drainage ditch. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene. The woman was identified as 26-year-old Julia Wilbanks, a single mother who was trying to make ends meet by being a sex worker. She was found almost naked and dead from 17 stab wounds. But the autopsy revealed something else. The toxicology report shows that a substantial amount of cocaine and benzoylecgonine was found in her system. And it was clear that foul play was involved. But with evidence and no leads, the case went cold for over 34 years. It wasn't until April 28, 2025 that investigators publicly identified a suspect after the case was reopened and re-examined. That suspect was Gene Stuller. During questioning, Stuller denied ever knowing Julia Wilbanks. He suggested that if they had ever crossed paths, it could only have been decades earlier through Narcotics Anonymous meetings, where he claimed to be in recovery. He denied any relationship, contact, or involvement in her death. But as you're about to see, that denial would not hold for long. What Gene Stuller did not know was that investigators preserved biological evidence from the victim's body in 1991. At the time, the technology to identify a suspect from that evidence did not exist. More than 30 years later, advances in forensic DNA testing allowed that evidence to be analyzed. The DNA profile developed from the crime scene matched Gene Stuller, directly linking him to the murder and leading to his arrest.
Okay, so we're working an investigation from a while ago, and your name came up in the investigation, okay? All right. Before I really get into a whole lot of questions, though, I do have to read you your rights, okay? All right. Okay. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you before and during questioning. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you at county expense before any questions if you wish.
How long have you been living in Florida?
Oh my God. 83 or 85?
Wow.
Okay.
And before
Illinois, Woodstock, Illinois.
that, you were in Woodstock, Illinois? Like in Woodstock, New York?
Like Woodstock, New York.
Okay.
But before Illinois, is that where you were born?
No, I was born in Ohio.
Born in Ohio? Okay, what part of Ohio were you?
Canton, Minerva.
So 1983 and 85 is when you moved to Florida. How old would you say you were then?
Oh God, I'll be 73 this week, so
Oh, happy birthday.
50 years?
15? Yeah, okay.
I'm probably less than that.
Yeah. What'd you do for work up in Illinois and Ohio?
I worked in a factory, Burns Coal Forge. I think it's closed down now. I can't remember. I worked in a factory. When I come down here, I started at Sheraton World and SeaWorld. I worked at Aramark. Then I went with Advent Health. Well, I went to Disney for a while, worked in their laundry.
Oh, laundry?
Yeah, maintenance mechanic.
Okay.
And then the last 20 years I've spent at Advent Health. But I'm sorry, I'm scared as hell.
No, it's okay.
I completely get that.
And I'm worried they got me out of the car. My wife was there.
Yeah.
Diagnostic technician for
Okay.
industrial laundry equipment. I retired the 14th of December
Of last year?
of last
Oh,
year.
Congratulations. Yeah. Okay, so you did laundry and worked mechanical work, okay.
Yeah.
And you're living in Orlando right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Lockhart, Orlando.
On card, okay. And you moved to Florida in 83 and 85-ish,
I
right around
believe
there.
so, yeah.
Where did you move or where did you live when you moved to Florida?
I lived in Kissimmee a little bit with my parents. Then I went to Orlando. Then I come back to Kissimmee for a while. Then I went back to Orlando. And moved to an apartment off of 436, met my wife, and then we got rented a house and now we're buying.
When did you meet your wife?
I got married in 2007, so I'd say 2006, sometime in there.
Okay. All right. Did you know your wife before you guys got married or?
No, we lived in the same apartment complex,
Okay.
and I met her at a Christmas party. Somebody once tapping on the window.
Give me 1 second.
You met her at a Christmas
We met-
party?
Yeah, I believe it was a Christmas party, and
Okay.
then they wouldn't tell me where she lived, and then she moved underneath of my apartment.
Oh, that's a cool story.
So
Yeah,
we
that's
got
nice.
together and been together ever since.
Okay. Any relationships or marriages before her?
Yeah, back in Minerva, I was married for a year.
Okay. And any relationships or marriages when you first moved to Florida in 83? No, nothing. Okay. So you're single that whole time. Any girlfriends?
None to speak of, no.
Okay. Did
Dates
you ever get
here
in
and there.
any trouble with law enforcement at all here in Florida when you moved here?
Maybe traffic tickets.
Some traffic tickets, no arrests or anything like
No.
that? No. Okay. And you lived in Kissimmee. Do you remember the address you lived in Kissimmee?
I don't remember the address, but it was Fountainhead Apartments.
Fountainhead Apartments? Okay. Can you remember if in 1991 that you lived in Kissimmee?
God, I don't know when I moved to Orlando.
So you moved to Orlando, came back a couple of
Yeah.
times. So you're familiar with the area. Did you live in St. Cloud at all?
No,
No. Familiar with St. Cloud? Did you do any work in St. Cloud?
no.
No.
I came to St. Cloud because Ford Insurance Company was there.
Okay.
And I had my trailer, I was getting the house insurance through them.
Okay. That's the only connection.
Yeah.
Kind of St. Cloud. Okay.
Gene makes a point of saying he never stayed in St. Cloud for long and that he doesn't remember exactly when he was there. He insists he never had any real reason to stay. But detectives lock in one simple fact. He was there at least once. And as you're about to see, that alone is all they need for the next question they're about to ask.
Well, in 1991, a female by the name of Julia Wilbanks, okay, she was found in St. Cloud, close here. She was deceased, okay. Does she look familiar at all to you? She is from Kissimmee and was in Kissimmee area.
No, sir.
No. You can take a closer look at it if you want. Yeah, you can look at it.
I don't believe that it's not somebody I ever dated or anything. No, I don't. Doesn't ring a
Okay.
bell.
Doesn't ring a bell at all. Okay. She's from Kissimmee around the same time that you were, that you lived there as well. Okay. And she did some sex work and stuff like that. Did you, in that time frame, did you have any relationships with maybe prostitutes or sex workers at all?
No.
Nothing you did that, any drugs or anything like that? No drug
I
history?
was going to NA back then.
Okay, what for?
And, sir,
Well, I'm sorry, continue.
and drinking. And then 4 years ago, the 13th of next month, I'll have 4 years sober. I damn near lost my wife. I didn't realize how much she was drinking. She had an operation, quit drinking for 2 days, and went into DT's in the middle of the night. I got the ambulance there. And when she got out of the hospital and she had to go to nursing home for a while, we both joined AA.
That's
And
good.
so where I was headed today, to the grocery store and to an AA meeting when I got picked up.
Okay.
Okay. What was you drink alcohol? What was your drink of choice?
Budweiser and Crown Royal.
Royal.
So you never did any narcotics or anything? Listen.
Back in the day in Orlando, we lived out by SeaWorld off of Orangewood Boulevard. We did some coke, my brother and I, and another fellow that's deceased now.
How often do you think you do that?
God, I don't know. Weekends if we had it.
You and a friend?
Me and my brother and a roommate, and he passed away.
What's your brother's name?
Dan Wallach.
Dan Walker. And he passed away, or?
No, the roommate passed away.
Was it from drugs?
No, he had cancer.
Notice how he quickly denied knowing Julie Wilbanks. It is a classic suspect instinct to distance themselves from suspicion. But what he doesn't deny is his past drug use. Even though he shifts the conversation toward sobriety, that admission still places him in the same environment and time frame as the victim. He just doesn't realize it yet.
The detective here says we're looking into this case from 1991, which is a long, long time ago. All right? And your name popped up.
Any idea as to why your name would come up?
No, unless maybe she went to NA or something.
Okay, did you went to NA back then too?
Yeah. It was there was a treatment center off of OBT, and I want to say Oak Street was an AA clubhouse.
Okay, it's possible. Yeah,
That would make sense.
but she doesn't sound familiar in the newspapers or anything like that. No. Okay, and she was found deceased here locally as well.
Trying to figure out how the hell my name popped up.
Well, we'll let you know. And we've been, the detective has been working this case for a long time. Okay? Things in law enforcement takes time. It's not like on TV. You get an hour show. 20 minutes of that is commercials. Okay? As you know. So these cases do take a long time. And some of these cases are expensive. You know, especially when you're trying to get, you know what DNA is?
Yes.
Okay, that's very expensive. Very, very expensive. And so it's not like we call up and say, run this DNA. That's not how that works. We need to get permission all the way up. Probably definitely goes to the chief. Maybe even goes beyond him because that's how expensive it is. Right, so these cases do take a long time, but your name did pop up in the investigation.
Gene's face shows all the nerves he is clearly feeling, and what the detectives are doing here is allowing that nerve to grow. Gene knows the detectives have something, but he leans in denial.
And it takes a while. This type of science behind it, it's extravagant.
Right.
It took a long time for things to be able to be developed, to be able to analyze things as well as they do now. Because in 1991, obviously technology is not like it is today. Smartphones and things like that, you can find out things like that. I'm sure that you're aware of that. And like Corporal was saying, it takes time for us to get the right DNA and to analyze it, okay? And like I mentioned, she was found deceased, and your name came up in the investigation, okay? And it was all connected through DNA. Blood DNA.
And, we're not here to lie to you. Okay? Our job here is to find out the truth, what happened. Because this lady here, I don't know her. The detective doesn't know her. But she has a family. And no matter what we do here, she's not going to come back. Okay? But at least we can give the family some peace of mind. I'm not sure how much peace of mind. It depends on who the person is. I've never been to a situation where a loved one of mine was found the way she was found. So I can't tell you, I can't tell them, I know how you feel. Because I don't know how you feel. Our job here is to find out what really happened, why it happened. That's important. The families want to know why. They already know what happened. For 30 years, they don't know why it happened.
Her son was 8 years old when this happened and has grown up the rest of his life now knowing what happened to his mom, but not knowing why. Why did it happen? And he grew up from 8 years, he's in his 40s now, with his own family, and he has no closure as to what happened to his mom. And that's what we're here trying to figure out. We want to know what happened to her. Can you tell us what happened to her?
No, sir, I can't.
So why would, like I said, I'm going to be honest with you. And I want you to be honest with us. Okay, there's only 3 of us in this room. Okay? You can say you don't know what happened to her, right? But we know certain things that we know you were there. We wouldn't be talking to you if you weren't there. We can prove you were there. We can prove that scientifically you were there. Right? So it's not like we just took your name out of a hat and said, okay, let's go talk to this guy. That's not how, because then we're just wasting our time. We know you were there. We can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt that you were there. So we just want to know what happened, why this happened. You don't look like a bad person.
Notice how Gene mostly goes quiet here. So the detectives shift to empathy, not to comfort him, but to keep pressure on without accusing him. And even without words, the tension is obvious. What the detectives actually found at the crime scene is as damning as it gets. Watch how Gene reacts when it's finally revealed.
We have interviewed some killers. You're not one of them. So we want to give you the opportunity of telling us why this happened so we can tell the families.
I don't have any answers for you.
Gene, I don't believe that. Okay, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about this. I know there's a side of the story. Okay, I know you have a side of the story. Everybody has one. Like he's saying, there's a reason why we're here talking to you today. Okay, your blood was on her.
That cannot change. The percentage is 1.6 trillion to 1. There's not even a trillion people in the world. That we cannot get away from. That you can't get away from. Right? So, I know it was a long time ago. Things happen. All right? But, like I said, we know you were there because your blood was there. Blood is better than the fingerprint. much better than fingerprint.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't know anything.
I can't imagine how this has weighed on you for 33 years. That pressure and always having that in the back of your mind, knowing what happened. And I know it can build up. And I know in 2015 it built up quite a bit. Okay? So I know you've been stressing out about this since it happened. It's not something that you can just forget. Okay? I know that. And I know that you've been wanting to try and talk to somebody about this. Okay? Now's your opportunity to finally let it out. Okay? And finally get it off.
I don't know what you want me to say. I know nothing about this.
Gene,
What?
I know that's not true.
So if you're saying you don't know nothing about this, how comes your blood was there?
I don't know. I don't know that it was. You're telling me it was, but if I wasn't there, how's my blood get there?
Good question.
As the detectives explain, Jean's blood was recovered from the victim's shorts and later confirmed through DNA analysis. The source of that blood was never identified until 33 years later due to technological limitations at the time. But forensic testing showed the odds of the blood belonging to someone else were approximately 1.9 trillion to 1. At that point, Gene realizes he's cornered. But his response was to act like a robot, repeating programmed, "I don't know what to say" responses. But his terrified face says otherwise.
That will never change. Like I said before, we're not here to lie to you. Really not. Like, it doesn't benefit us one bit. Right? Myself, a detective here, we're not getting promoted off this case. That's not how this goes. Right? We're not becoming movie stars off this case. That's all TV. Okay? But the one thing that we know that will never ever change here is that your blood was on her. That can't change. Maybe you have a rational reason why it's there, and I'm willing to listen to that. But that doesn't change. We're not just the two who've been working on this case. A lot of people have been looking on this case, even back then. When St. Cloud was nothing. Nobody knew what St. Cloud was. And so back since this lady was discovered until today, people have been working on this case. Maybe not daily. So we just happen to be the last two. And that's what this is. You have to explain, okay, you're saying that you weren't there, you don't know what happened. Okay, how did her blood get on her? How did your blood, not his, not mine, not siblings of yours, remember, 1.6 trillion to 1. And that's what you're going to have to answer to. Because think about it. If you're on the other side, you're on my side and I'm over there, and you know that 1.6 trillion to 1, but done by DNA labs, that this is what they do. And the person is telling, and I'm telling you, I don't know anything, I wasn't anywhere. You're gonna, what would you think?
I don't know what to think. I do not know how this happened.
That's why we're here. We want to find out what happened.
I don't know.
Notice how much conviction Gene has in that last, "I don't know." It sounds less like uncertainty and more like an attempt to get out of the room. His body language is stiff, and the longer he maintains denial, the more he steers himself into a position he can't later explain.
So how are we gonna get around to letting her, this lady's son know what happened?
I do not have an answer for that. I do not know, and that's not gonna change.
You have no reason why, or you don't know why your blood would be on her.
So,
Got a couple pictures if you're willing to look at them, okay? This is Julia, okay? And this was her when we found her, okay? She's got a lot of blood on her, okay? And this is her. This is where she was. This is her right there. And we're not lying about the blood.
Mm-mm. She was stabbed 17 times. That's a lot. Usually they say cases like this is someone that knows her because it's had a lot to do with feelings. Somebody wronged me, you know. You see one or two, maybe could be a stranger. When you start seeing 17, 20, 30, it's usually the victim and the suspect. There's a connection somewhere. Whether their connection romantically, business-wise, but there is a connection because that's personal. Personal. A guy who's gonna do something is not gonna wait around to do 17 stab wounds. He may get caught. He may get away with one or two, and because his main thing is, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. We also know for a fact this possibly didn't happen where she was found. It was somewhere else. Because there was, as you can see in the picture here, there is nothing there. Side of the road, like she was dumped. From my experience. Do you know where this is? This area?
no, looks like a field.
Right across the street from the police department. The police department wasn't here. So you're right, open field. You know where Neptune Road is?
Vaguely, because I
Right.
lived in that area and I worked when I was working for Disney. I was laid off and I worked for Bronson's at the Orange Groves on Pleasant Hill, and they had a place in Hollow Paw. And I used to go from Pleasant Hill, I'd take their truck out to Hollow Paw. So I've seen that Neptune Road, yeah.
There was nothing on Neptune Road. This police department wasn't here, which is kind of ironic. You get the police department investigating the crime, that the police department wasn't there when the crime occurred. But that's Neptune Road.
For a moment, Gene tries to appear cooperative, but his ability to name the road where she was found, despite claiming it's been decades since he lived there, is very sus. And more concerning is that detail came from Gene first, not them. He doesn't realize it yet, but he is strengthening his link to the crime. But things are about to get worse.
Because 1991, St. Cloud was totally different from what it is now. Now it takes you probably 50 minutes to go from one end to the next. So like we said, that's where all that blood, hers and yours. Nobody else.
Was it just an accident? Was it a mistake? Because you don't seem like you're the kind of person that's going around being a mass murderer.
Right.
Is there something built up that just
I don't
happened?
know the woman, I didn't do it. I don't know if you're trying to get me to
We're not getting you to
do
do
something.
anything.
I don't know her, I never met her.
Well,
Unless she happened to be at one of those NA meetings, I don't know
know.
the woman.
Could be. I don't know. We're not trying to get you to say anything here. We just want the truth.
I
And
can't.
if you're telling us what you're telling us, we have a problem. We have a big problem.
I guess we have a problem because I don't know her. I don't know nothing about her. I don't know nothing about this.
Now, what kind of work truck you used to drive back then?
I didn't have a work truck.
So you said the vehicle.
Yeah, from Bronson, you said.
Oh my God. There was a white pickup, I don't know what kind, and then I think he got a brown Chevy truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for Rick. Rick's dead. He got in an accident. He went back to drugs and flipped his Jeep.
So you would use one of those vehicles to go back and forth once in a while from Pleasant Hill to Hollow Park.
Yeah.
What's the,
Usually I'd come up Pleasant Hill Road to John Young, go up to Oak Street, go back out on 192, take that straight into Hollow Paw, I believe it was.
Right there, see how Gene flipped from defensive denial to talking freely about irrelevant details. The detectives allow this to ease the pressure because pressing him further would only deepen his denial. Gene thinks he's back in control, but detectives are about to shift focus on one detail from Julia's toxicology that would place him back in her murder.
Now, you mentioned back in the day, you used to use narcotics,
Yes.
right? And you mentioned it was cocaine. Where did you get that from?
My brother knew a guy. Someplace over, was in Orlando. Bumby Avenue, does that sound right? Bumby. And it was-
examiners now.
Once,
Bumby.
once in a, we had the money, we'd get some and then make it last through,
Like a weekend.
usually on the weekend, yeah.
Okay. Was that mostly into like a powder form or crack
Powder.
form? Powder. So you were a snorter?
Yeah.
Okay. But you said you've never seen this lady before.
No, sir.
You don't remember meeting her anywhere at all? By the way, that water is yours.
Okay.
and she did the same things. She did cocaine, and she used drugs. Could be a connection been that?
No, because I lived out by SeaWorld. What's that? Off of Orangewood Boulevard. I think it was Montpelier or something when I lived with my brother and them. So that was prior to me coming to Kissimmee because I lived there when I first moved down here.
You lived in Orlando when you first moved down here, or Kissimmee?
Out by SeaWorld.
Out by Zero.
Yeah, well, there first, and then I went to my parents a little bit, and then I got my own place when I got a job.
No, either you, through when you were using, or it could be AA, could be anything.
Well, it wasn't when we was snorting our cocaine because we lived in, like I said, out by SeaWorld. There's a bunch of allotments out there. It was like Montpelier, Green something.
Now,
It
so
was
let's
more or
for
less
instance,
a
now,
retirement.
who was purchasing the narcotics? Was it you, your brother, or the other gentleman?
I think we all took turns
Was it the same place?
off of Raphael, yeah.
And after you purchased, where would you guys go?
Back to house.
Whose house?
The one we rented, there was 3 of us, my brother, me, and another guy, Rick McAleese.
Do you guys
He's
party with
passed.
anybody else?
No.
Any friends you guys are partying with, or just?
Maybe a cousin or something would be over.
Right. Any girls coming over to party?
And you said you use on the weekends, and you'd get some, and it would last a week and to the weekend.
The weekend, yeah.
And so you moved from Orlando out of your brother's house, and you live with your parents.
I believe I might have stayed there a little bit.
And then you
then
get your own place.
Well, I think first I lived at Fountainhead with a couple other guys that were recovering people.
And you stopped cold turkey, no more.
I relapsed a couple times, but it was with alcohol.
Okay. So you moved from Orlando to Kissimmee, and you completely stopped using cocaine?
Yeah.
Not a lot of people
It
can
was
do that.
recreational.
This line of questioning places Jean and Julia in the same location and context, which would coincide with what the police found in Julia's toxicology report, which shows high levels of cocaine in her system near the time of her death. Combined with Jean's blood on Julia's shorts, it gives detectives additional reason to believe he had direct contact with her before she was killed.
So, your blood was on her, okay? I want you to fully understand the gravity of that, right? Your blood was found on her while she was just like this, okay? And it's taken 33 years for us to get to that point, to identify whose blood that was, and that it is yours, your blood, okay? And up until this point, it's taken till right now for us to be able to charge somebody in this, okay? And this case has been presented to a judge, and a judge has deemed that it's enough for an arrest, okay? You understand that?
I hear you, yes, sir.
You understand the gravity of that?
Yeah.
And like we've said, we're here to find out why and what happened. It's been 33 years, we have no idea what actually happened to her and what caused this. Okay, we know the reason and the cause of her death, but we don't know what happened beyond that. There's only one person that does.
I'm gonna show you something to show our good faith. You may think in your mind, they may be bluffing me, right? I'm gonna prove to you they're not bluffing. You can read that. What the detective just said, that's what's there. That's what we just got. Thank you. Come on, we need to know what happened.
I do not know. I don't know how my blood is there. I didn't know the woman.
You may not know her. That might be true. But there was some type of connection there enough for your blood to end up on her.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, Gene?
Sir?
I said, what happened, Gene?
I don't know anything, sir. I can't tell you what I don't know.
Detectives already know how Julia was killed. They just need to know why. And Gene here, confession or not, is obviously going to jail. The question is if he's an accomplice or the actual murderer. This is the moment where honesty could at least change the outcome and save a tiny bit of his dignity. Instead, Gene still appears to believe he can deny his way out.
I appreciate that. Did you help moving her?
I don't know anything about her.
Well, Gene, that's where the problem lies. I notice you've been looking at the pictures, and they're pretty bad.
Yeah, I try not to look at it. When I walk over, if I'm going to look at it, it catches my eye.
Yeah, of course. I can show exactly where, on this photo, where your blood was located. It's right there on the right side of her shorts. Okay? We have those shorts with us. We've analyzed them, and it's been tested for the last 33 years. And it took us till right now to identify whose blood that is. And it's not just, it's a mixture of yours, hers, and yours separately on her. Okay? It's taken us this long to identify that blood. And then we have your DNA and collected it and compared it, and it was a match. 1.6 trillion. Gene, there's an explanation there. Just by you talking to us for the last hour, we know you're not a bad guy. And we know you've had some anger problems. Everybody has anger problems, right? We know you've battled and struggled with that, and you've been working on that. Was this just something that you made the mistake, you couldn't control yourself?
I didn't do it. I didn't know her. I can't tell you what I don't know.
And how you explain your blood on?
I can't.
You see where the problem is?
I understand you keep telling me my blood's there. I don't know how.
All right? Nobody's gonna believe you. They're gonna say, well, there is only certain ways for your blood to get on her. There is contact somehow between you and her. That's the only way it gets there. I've been racking my brain to say, how could this gentleman's blood be on her? And it boils down to one thing all the time. There was contact between both of them. What that contact is, you have to fill that in. I can't fill it in for you. Because your blood just doesn't go out of you and get onto somebody. Right? Tells me you got hurt, you got injured, and you bled. That's the only way blood gets on somebody. The skin has to be covered. That's the only way. And that's where the whole issue that you're going to have. So you can say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I was never there. They're going to go, okay. Well, the blood, and these are experts are going to testify. The medical examiner is going to testify to how blood gets from one person to the next person. And there's only one way to do that. There is contact somehow. Where there is contact from place A or place B. There is contact. That's the only way. So that's what we're dealing with right now.
This strategy the detectives are using is called inevitability framing, and it's typically used late in an interrogation when investigators already have solid evidence. The goal is simple: make it clear that the case moves forward with or without a confession, and that denial won't stop what's coming. But Gene just won't budge.
And like the detective said, this has been presented to a judge. Judge signed an arrest warrant for you. So the judge is looking at the evidence and he has everything. They're not talking to us. He's looking at the evidence also. And he's going, okay, how do we know this is this gentleman's blood? He says it's DNA. Where was his DNA? What DNA? What are the different types of DNA? Blood. Okay. Where was the blood? On the victim. That's hard to dispute unless you come up with a logical answer. That's why I asked you, did you help move her? Could be. That's how you get. I'm trying to think.
I didn't have anything to do with anything.
Okay. Then who had?
Sir?
Then who had that? If you didn't have nothing to do with anything, then who had something to do with it?
I know nothing about it. I didn't hurt her. I don't know who did.
And you're saying you don't know how your blood got on her.
Yes, sir, I'm saying that.
Okay, nobody's gonna believe you.
Okay,
A jury's not gonna believe you.
okay.
A jury's gonna think he's saying, or through his attorney, he's gonna say A, B, and C, and they're gonna go, that's not plausible. It's not like she was wearing your shoes. She was wearing your socks. Okay, she may have stolen it. Okay? You may have thrown it out and she found it and put it on. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you?
I understand what you're saying. I've cleaned up a lot of shit in the last 4 years. I can't
I know,
clean up
I-
what I don't have anything to do with.
See, and I can see it weighing on you. I can see it in your eyes. And it's weighed on you for the entire time since it's happened. And I know in 2015, you had struggled with it. And can you go through and explain kind of what happened back then?
What do you
So
mean in 2015 I
the Seminole
struggled
County
with what?
Sheriff's Office, you placed under a Baker Act.
Oh, yeah. My wife and I was arguing over her daughter. And I put my gun to my head and said, if it's gonna keep being like this, I don't care to be here. I set it back down, I left. I come back in to get the gun because I figured she'd do away with it. She did. I went to work. I went in the maintenance shop. I think it was a Sunday. They were closed. Don't ask me why, but you're not allowed to smoke in the building. I come outside to smoke. Sheriffs were there. She had found my car. She was in the parking lot too. They come and got me. They Baker acted me. Because I was upset over family life that her daughter always had to have her nose in it. And I was trying to explain to my wife how pissed off I was about it.
And I know some of the statements you made to those deputies.
Okay? I don't remember.
You said, I can't tell you what really happened, because if I did, I wouldn't be going home. Was it because of this?
No. I just told you what that was about. Her daughter kept sticking her nose in our marriage.
And that's gonna cause you to put a gun to your head.
That caused me to put a gun to my head because it was constant. It was either her way or no way. And the daughter's not even involved in her life anymore. Because she finally saw what the daughter was doing.
So based on that, you were willing to take your own life.
I was trying to explain to her how upset I was about the thing at the house. The daughter always interfering.
I understand, I get that, but do you think that?
But I did not intend on shooting
And why
myself.
you put a gun to your head?
Because I was trying to get her to see
That's-
how upset I was.
That's going like 1,000%.
There have been many, many arguments over it and she wouldn't listen. So I thought if I did something drastic, maybe she'd stop and listen.
Did she stop and listen?
Years later, after we got sober.
So right there and then, or shortly thereafter, that didn't change anything.
No, because I still drank. The wife drank. Nothing changed until almost 4 years ago when she damn near died.
At this point, detectives offer Gene an alternative narrative. They're giving him a path that includes remorse and accountability that could at least lead to a lighter sentence. But Gene just doesn't take the bait and tries to redirect the conversation to something else again. What he doesn't realize is that detectives already know something else from the night of the murder. The victim fought back, which means whoever did this didn't walk away untouched. And the detectives are about to close in on that.
So your work injury, where were you working when it happened?
In the maintenance shop, bending a piece of metal in a vise.
Which maintenance shop?
The main laundry for the Advent Health is behind Forest Lake Academy in Apopka.
Okay,
And he's not there anymore, but Marvin Bursky was the director at the time,
Okay. How long did you work there?
20 years.
Worked there 20 years. So, and you just retired in December. So 2004 is about when you got hired there and started working there?
2003, I think.
Okay. And then at some point in your tenure of working there, this injury on your forehead?
Yeah, there's a workman's comp claim on it, because I had to go get stitches.
Just here or on here too?
Here, this is from cancer taken out in last year, I believe. I got pictures of it on my phone, because they cut it from here to here and cut the cancer out. They had to keep going deeper, and then they pinched it together and sewed it. I have pictures of that on my phone. But yeah, there's a workman's comp claim for that.
Okay. So before working there, you had no scarring?
No.
Okay. Any other scars or injuries you've suffered through the years?
Just operations. I had this hand redone, this hand redone, I've had my shoulder redone.
Because she fought back when this was happening. She tried to have this stopped. And that there's evidence to say that.
You keep going back to that, and I know nothing about
Gene.
this.
This is what we're here for.
Okay, you can gene me all you want. I know nothing about it. My scars have nothing to do with it. This is documented, this is documented, this is documented, this is documented.
Now, how can we explain how your blood ended up on her?
I don't know.
Do you understand, right, when they ask you, how do you explain that her blood, your blood, got on her, and your answer is, I don't know? What do you think they're gonna think?
I don't have an answer to that either.
They're gonna think you're not being honest. That's what they're gonna think. Because like I said before, there's only a couple ways your blood gets on her. And the only one way I can come up with is that there was some kind of contact. Had to be. Because it's blood. My blood's not gonna get on you, your blood's not gonna get on me unless we have close contact. We can be probably 5 feet away from each other. My blood's not gonna get on you. And your blood's not gonna get on me. Now, if we're fighting and we are close contact, that's different. And by saying, I don't know, there's one thing you say, well, I don't remember. That's different. People forget. I forget stuff. You'd be surprised what I forget.
I believe I would remember if I had something to do with that.
Well, I would hope so. But that's what we call in the business up close contact, up and close. 17 stab wounds, that's close. It's not like you shot her or somebody shot her 17 times. You can do it from 25 yards. If you're a good shot. Okay? And that's not close. Her blood is not gonna get on you. Now if you shot her maybe 3 feet, yeah, because you have blowback. Right? But a knife, you gotta get up close. Have to get up close. That's why butchers, they're all full of blood. Because you gotta get up close to cut that animal.
Jean's scars could really have come from other incidents, but at this point, the number of coincidences tying him to Julia is impossible to ignore. What the police actually found goes far beyond the 17 stab wounds. Julia had cuts to her neck and mouth, and her right thumb was nearly severed from defending herself from the killer. That struggle could explain how Jean's blood got on Julia's shorts.
Are you susceptible to blackouts, not remembering things?
Not since I quit drinking 4 years ago.
Now when you're drinking, right? Do you ever black out?
Towards the end of my drinking after I got married, yes.
Okay, explain one incident.
Oh, I fell in the garage and didn't remember till I saw where I cracked my head on a shelf I had at a tile. And then I come in and fell and hit the metal trash can and dented it. Didn't realize it.
Yeah, but you remember those things afterwards, right? You fell in the garage. the
Well,
trash
well,
can.
yeah, I had to research it the next day because I had the gash in my head.
How you mean, how did you research it?
My wife come in and saw the blood on the thing, and
Oh, so she found you?
she found me on the kitchen floor, yeah.
Okay. But you had no recollection of anything that wasn't for your wife? You said you did the research.
Well, saw the blood on the tile, it was painted white, saw the dent in the can that she told me I put there. There was blood on the floor from where my head was bleeding.
So you saw somebody, it had to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. Makes sense. Is there any instances where, let's say, you got home, you woke up the next day, you don't remember how you got home, you don't remember where you were?
There's times I've come home and not remembered what I did the night before, yes, when I had been drinking heavily.
Okay.
Any times where you would show up and have injuries that you can't even explain?
Now I knew where that come from.
Okay, what about before you met your wife? Been drinking with you and your brother, doing cocaine? Ever have any episodes, moments where the following day you're like, I don't know what happened, and you've got these injuries?
No, people usually tell me because I'd been drinking with friends or something.
Okay. Did you ever handle in with any prostitutes or anything like that?
No.
It was common in the area where you lived. And I know she would stay at the Budget Inn, and that's about 2 miles from where you used to live in Kissimmee. Ever have any relationships with any prostitutes?
Well, when I lived in Orlando, I used to go to the Mousetrap.
A mousetrap?
What's that?
It
Strip
was-
club?
Yeah.
Do you have any relationships with any girls at the strip club?
I'd get laid,
Yeah, that's a relationship.
okay?
Okay.
Would never venture out to anybody that, may not be in a club and would offer services on the street?
No.
Did you ever do any work in McLaren Circle?
Did I do any work there?
Work? Any partying?
No.
Did you ever get drugs from McLaren Circle?
I believe I did once and got picked up by the
Drug wise? What was it they tried to get?
cocaine, I believe.
Okay. So there's some connections between her and you now. She's familiar with McLaren Circle. She was in McLaren Circle too. She did cocaine as well.
That long pause just now is Gene realizing he screwed up. He admitted to cocaine use, acknowledges contact with sex workers, and places himself in the same area Julia was also frequent in. Individually, none of this proves anything. Together, pins down a plausible point of contact, something he had spent hours denying. But from there, Gene would continue denying everything. So, detectives changed tactics. With them not getting more answers from Gene, a sergeant would step in to connect the dots Gene has spent the entire interview trying to keep separate.
Gene, Sergeant Backer. I've been kind of listening in on the interview. And I just have some questions that I need answered for myself, okay? Because I've read the reports, I've read the genealogy. I kind of understand the science behind it. What I cannot understand And what you have not been able to explain is how your blood is on this woman's shorts. This woman who was found stabbed to death right outside of this building back in 1991. And that's why I'm in here, because I need to figure out how that's possible.
I don't have an answer. I keep saying I don't have an answer.
So we can agree that you lived in Kissimmee in 1991, right?
Probably, yeah.
And I know for a fact that this woman lived in Kissimmee in 1991. You mentioned you had a cocaine problem back then.
Yeah.
This woman had a cocaine problem back then. You mentioned that you had some interactions with sex workers back then.
No.
Well, you
believe I
said
said
you got laid in a sex club.
Oh, Mousetrap up in Orlando. I
Okay.
dated some of the people that worked there. Well,
Well,
went out with them.
you could technically call them
Okay.
sex workers then if they
All right.
provided you
Dancers.
services for money.
Okay.
This woman was a sex worker. I don't know that she worked there. She more, as far as I know, worked the streets. But she also frequented areas like McLaren Circle, which you said you frequented.
No, I said I went once and then was sent back in
Okay.
because I got stopped on the way out.
And you went there with the intent to buy cocaine,
Yes, sir.
and she also used cocaine. You said you had an alcohol problem, right? That caused you to have blackouts?
I have blacked out drinking, yes.
And the fact that you cannot explain how your blood ended up on this woman's shorts, you don't think that could be because of your drug and alcohol use? That maybe you had some sort of blackout? Maybe you were with this woman one night?
When I blacked out, I was mostly at home and lived in Orlando, where I live now. There was a 10-year period where I didn't go to meetings, but I was sober because of my wife. Because her first husband was an alcoholic.
Okay, but in 1991 you were not sober.
No, off and on.
In 1991 you were using drugs and alcohol at the same time.
I would imagine then, yes.
You would imagine?
I drank, and I because I was going to NA and AA.
Is there a lot from that time period that you can't remember?
No, I can probably tell you where I worked and what I drove, and
But how about when you weren't at work and when you weren't driving, when you were out enjoying your weekend off or your nights, having some drinks, having some cocaine?
I very seldom drank out. It's too expensive to drink out. I drink at home. That's where we were drinking before we got sober, my wife and I, at home.
But you admit that you did drink and you used cocaine and you weren't always working.
Yeah.
So on those nights and weekends where you were not at work and you were drinking and you were using cocaine, how was your memory then? Can you remember every one of those nights? Can you remember the finite
Probably
details?
not, no.
There it goes again. Gene snaps and becomes defensive when asked about his connections with Julia. But when the topic moves away to his work, routine, and past, he's calm and detailed. That is not the behavior of someone innocent, but of someone hiding something.
So is it possible that you met up with this other cocaine user? Maybe you guys hung out together. Maybe it was just an acquaintance. Maybe she tried to sell you drugs. Maybe she tried to steal your drugs. And maybe something happened. Maybe there was an argument. Maybe there was a fight. Maybe she stabbed you first. But there's got to be a reason. There's got to be an explanation for how your blood ended up on her shorts.
I don't have a clue. The girl does not ring a bell. I'm sure I would remember that crap.
I would hope you'd remember it just because of how intense the situation probably played out. But this right here is your one opportunity to give your side of the story on how it played out and why it played out. But if you can't remember it, then it's going to have to go with how our report reads, which is that this lady was stabbed 17 times and then dumped on the side of a highway. And your blood and her blood are a combined mixture on her shorts. The shorts she was wearing when she was stabbed 17 times and dumped on the side of a highway.
I don't have a side of the story.
Okay. Just wanted to give you an opportunity, if you had a side, to air it out.
I don't have a side of the story.
Because that, like I said, that's the story that we put forward to the judge. That's the story that the judge signed an arrest warrant on. That's the story that your parents are going to hear, that your wife is going to hear.
It's the story I'm going to tell them if I have the opportunity
Which is what?
to make a phone call. I'm my wife to know what's going on. He told me I would get to do that.
Oh, okay. I understand. So that's the story you're going to tell them, that your blood ended up on a murder victim's shorts. A murder victim who was stabbed 17 times and dumped on the side of a highway. And you can't provide any explanation of why.
That's what I will tell my wife, yes.
Okay.
It's the only story I have.
You know, there's a possibility that you'll spend the rest of your life in prison.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm figuring right now.
You seem very calm for a person who's being accused of a violent murder. Like, not shocked.
I don't know what to do. I'm scared as hell. I don't know. My insides are like this.
I
I
hear
do
you.
not know what to do.
I hear you're saying that, but that's not the reaction that I'm seeing. Your body language isn't showing that. Your body language is
How am I
speaking with
supposed to
someone.
be acting?
Well, I've seen people who are accused of things they didn't do, and it's a different reaction. Not all of them have the same reaction, but it's very different from the reaction that you're having now. The reaction that you're having now is one of content. Like, it finally caught up with you, and you've just given up, and you have nothing to say. Not surprised, not angry, not confused, just content.
No, I'm not content. I'm scared as hell and I'm worried for my wife. You're telling me that I'm there. I'm telling you I wasn't. I don't know what to do. What good is it going to do me to kick and scream and cuss and carry on? I've learned to be a little better than that.
It
the
won't
last
do you
few
any good,
years,
but that is
okay?
the most common reaction for someone accused of something this violent when they know that they're innocent of it.
In my head, what I've learned to believe is this will work out the way God wants it to work out. That's the spirituality that I've learned through the AA program. Things take care of themselves. It doesn't do me any good to kick and scream. I'm about in frickin' tears because I don't know how this happened.
Until the very end, Gene Stuller never confessed to the crime. Despite hours of questioning, he never offered a version of events that explained how his DNA ended up mixed with Julia Wilbanks's blood on the clothing she wore when she was killed. After the interrogation concluded, Gene was taken into custody and formally charged with second-degree murder under Florida law, along with related charges tied to the handling of Julia's body. Given the nature of the case and the strength of the forensic evidence, he was held with no bond. He was booked into jail to await the next stage of the legal process. As of the most recent updates, the case has not yet gone to trial. No plea has been entered and no verdict has been reached. What prosecutors have made clear, however, is the case they intend to present. Julia was stabbed 17 times. She suffered defensive injuries consistent with close contact violence, and Jean's DNA was found mixed with her blood on the shorts she was wearing at the time of her death. When repeatedly asked to explain how that could have. Now, if found guilty of second-degree murder, Jean would be facing decades up to life in prison. At his age, any sentence would effectively mean spending the rest of his life behind bars. But the devastating truth is this: Jean got old, while Julia Wilbanks never got that chance. Science eventually closed the gap that time left open, and in this case, the evidence spoke clearly, without needing a confession. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and check out one of the craziest cases I've ever covered right here.